Guess what? We are going to Disneyland today to show you the best times to visit in 2025. Now we've got all the secrets on crowds and events, the newest things coming to Disneyland, and more. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Vlog. It always feels good to be back covering Disneyland stuff because Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure both have tons of rides and restaurants and attractions that you're not necessarily going to find in Disney World. So planning a trip out west is going to be a whole lot different than planning one out east. And that's why today we're going to lay out a full 2025 Disneyland timeline for you and really get to the bottom of when you and your family need to plan on taking that epic trip next year. Let's talk about the biggest factors to consider. Planning a Disneyland trip goes beyond just wanting to visit during the same time of the year that neighbor Bob down the street did and had a great time, because every family and travel group is going to have different wants and needs and wishes to fulfill. So as we explore each season throughout 2025 in Disneyland today, we'll be looking deeper into the following points: special events and openings. We heard a lot about what's coming to the Disneyland scene during the 2024 D23 fan event. It's important to keep in mind that the new Coco attraction, the new Avengers Campus expansion, and the new Avatar Land, all coming to California Adventure, will not be there next year, though you'll more than likely see a bunch of construction going on in preparation for these openings. So if you're wanting to wait to take a Disneyland trip until these new attractions and areas are open, you might need to postpone your plans for another year or two. The biggest changes this year are going to be construction walls. That being said, there's still a lot going on throughout 2025 inside the Disneyland parks. And while we don't have everything confirmed, we do have several special events and openings that are 100% green lit and ready to greet you with open arms. So we're going to tell you about those in today's video. Something else we're talking about in each season is crowds. While Disneyland's crowds don't tend to be as intense throughout the year as Disney World's can get, because Disneyland can be more of a locals playground versus Disney World, which attracts a lot more international and domestic tourists. That doesn't mean Disneyland doesn't get busy, real busy. While you might still want to visit the parks during their peak season times, because it might fit your group's schedule and preferences better, it's still good to know what to expect attendance-wise before you go. By the way, in Disneyland, across the board, you're going to see higher crowds in the evenings and on the weekends, again, because that's when the locals go, and this is a locals park. Next up, surge prices. An uptick in attendance also means a potential uptick in prices for things like park tickets, hotel rooms, lightning lanes. We'll talk specifically about what park ticket prices might look like depending on the season, but you'll want to dive in a little deeper on your own time to make sure the budget you're creating makes sense with the time of year you're going. And personal life. Now, here's one I can't really give you the specifics for because this is where you come into play. What factors do you need to consider for the people who are traveling with you? Does Cousin Erin hate crowds? Does Uncle Jim have an extra week of vacation starting next spring? Are the kids starting up year-round school in 2025, but they're going to have longer breaks more frequently throughout the year? Feel like I should be included in the hypothetical Aunt Susan somewhere, but I've given her a lot of flack in previous videos lately, so I'm just going to give her a break for now. Anywho, you get the idea. I might not be able to address the personal stuff for you specifically, but you definitely can, and you should be thinking about it throughout this video. But wait, hold on. Before we get to exploring each Disneyland season, do you want to hear about all the new stuff first? Of course you do. I want to talk about it. Even though Tiana's Bayou Adventure has been open in Magic Kingdom since this summer, Disneyland's version just opened recently on November 15th, 2024. So that ride's still brand new. There are a few little differences between the Disneyland and Disney World versions too, like fewer drops, but way more soakage. However, for the most part, the theming and story is the same. You'll join Tiana and Louis and all the other Bayou friends and critters to help Tiana create a Mardi Gras celebration that you won't soon forget. In honor of the new ride, the former Critter Country has been renamed Bayou Country, where you'll find two new Princess and the Frog themed shops, Ray's Berets and Louis's Critter Club. But what new stuff can you expect to see pop up on the West Coast next year? Well, I think we got a lot of fun things on the horizon, especially since Disneyland will be celebrating its 70th anniversary, and you know how Disney loves an anniversary. This will be a year-long celebration, though its official birthday won't be until July 17th, 2025. Expect lots of celebratory decor, merchandise, limited time snacks, and maybe a few surprise announcements too. But why is this celebration so exciting, aside from, celebrating Disneyland's big 7-0? Well, we recently learned that in honor of the birthday shenanigans, DCA, Disney California Adventure, will be starting up a new nighttime spectacular World of Color Happiness inspired by Walt Disney's words from the opening day park dedication. You know, to all who come to this happy place, welcome. The Carthay Circle restaurant will also have production shows in the evening to keep the happy celebrations going. And over in Disneyland Park, a revamped version of the fan favorite Paint the Night parade is rolling onto the scene to join the party, and there was much rejoicing from Paint the Night fans everywhere, including me. Still no exact dates on when Paint the Night will officially start illuminating the park paths yet, but it will be returning at some point during the 70th anniversary. I'm guessing right there on May 16th when it starts. We'll see. We'll confirm. But we haven't seen this parade since 2017, so it's awesome to welcome it back. Along with Paint the Night, the Wondrous Journeys Nighttime Castle Show will also be returning during the anniversary celebration, which will feature the triumphant character journeys featured in Disney animated films like Hercules, The Princess and the Frog, Peter Pan, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Moana, Encanto, and more. And according to the Disney website, Disneyland will also debut a new character cavalcade, as well as a new projection show on the facade of It's a Small World. The 70th celebrations will kick off on May 16th and run until summer 2026. Also starting up on May 16th is Walt Disney A Magical Life. Also coming in 2025 is Walt Disney A Magical Life. For the first time in history, guests will see Walt Disney through the magic of audio animatronics technology. Yep, you're gonna have a Walt robot for the first time. This is gonna be a new show that'll be presented in the Main Street Opera House. I know all the up in the air release dates are gonna drive you bonkers, but once more, we're not sure when this show is officially opening up next year. We just know it's slated to open up sometime in 2025. However, when it does open, it'll deliver the first ever audio animatronic of Walt himself. This new show will have an initial run as the only show playing in the Main Street Opera House, but ultimately it'll rotate out with great moments with Mr. Lincoln, which is the show that's there currently, of course. And let's not forget about how much Downtown Disney is going to be changing in 2025 and beyond. Recently, 9 new restaurants were announced for this revamped shopping district. Porto's Bakery Cafe is a Southern California classic chain featuring Cuban-inspired eats and pastries. It's going to be opening its first ever table service style location in downtown Disney next year. A 2-story Earl of Sandwich is coming onto the scene, where the second floor will become the home to an all-new table service concept, the Carnaby Tavern. Parkside Market will actually be home to 4 new restaurants: Soul Sister, a Korean-inspired eatery; Sip and Sonder, a Black women-owned hotspot specializing in lattes and Caribbean-inspired bites; Gigi's Chicken Shop, can you guess what this family-style restaurant is going to specialize in? And a second-story rooftop bar that'll offer handcrafted cocktails and hopefully stunning views. Now, where the old Tortilla Joe's used to be will transform into 2 new restaurants, a steakhouse and a barbecue eatery, and an adjacent barbecue quick service location. The steakhouse will be called Arthur & Son Steak and Bourbon. The barbecue location will be called Pearl's Roadside Barbecue. And both eateries will come from Michelin-starred chef Joe Isidori. And Marceline's Confectionery is closed to be reimagined into the Disney Wonderful World of Sweets opening this winter. There's also been a ton of new stores that'll come to the downtown Disney scene recently. Avengers Reserve just opened on December 6th, which is an entire Marvel-themed shop for all your Marvel souvenir needs. D-Lander opened at the end of November in 2024, bringing another Disney-inspired boutique into the area. There's even a little slime kiosk called Kawaii Slime if you're looking for some high-end slime stuff. We'll continue to keep you updated on our free DFB newsletter once we hear more about these restaurants' exact opening dates. Now, let's launch into those seasons. We're going to start in the winter. For special events, there are way more wintertime events going on throughout January and February than you might have realized. Aside from New Year's Day and Valentine's Day, that is, which are definitely celebrated throughout the park with limited time snacks and photo ops and shows and merchandise. For example, this is when Disneyland's After Dark events start back up. Disneyland's After Dark events tend to be about 4 hours long and take place after the park closes for everyone else who doesn't have an event ticket. That being said, event ticket holders who didn't purchase a regular day ticket should still be able to enter the park about 3 hours before the event starts for a pre-party mix-in. In 2024, Sweethearts took place on select dates throughout January and February and celebrated all things love, romantic love, friendship love, family love, and Disneyland love too. We'll talk more about the other After Dark events during our respective seasons, so stick with us here on this video to hear more. Meanwhile, over in DCA, this park's exclusive festivals start back up in January as well, kicking off with Lunar New Year. In 2025, Lunar New Year will take place January 17th to February 16th. And the first Run Disney Half Marathon weekend of the year, which happens January 30th to February 2nd, will bring in the runners and casual speedwalkers in the area to take on the bucket list goal of jogging through the parks and earning medals and exclusive race offerings for a job well done. All throughout the month of February, Disneyland goes all out celebrating Black History Month, so expect to find lots of live music, gospel performances, exclusive eats, and artist showcases too, and now in select Disneyland stores. The Celebrate Gospel series will take place in 2025 from February 8th to the 15th. And now let me tell you about a Disneyland event that might have escaped you when you first started looking into the winter West Coast vacation, Anaheim Ducks Day. That's right. Anaheim Ducks Day will take place on January 24th to celebrate the city's Anaheim Ducks hockey team, featuring several day-only events and several specialty treats. Moving on to crowds. So crowds aren't really going to be your main concern in the winter, aside from the occasional special event or extended weekend that might spike them up for a day or two. Because crowds naturally pick up on the weekend no matter what time of year you visit. But there are two weekends specifically you might want to keep on your radar here in the winter. The first is Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, which happens January 18th to the 20th. Typically, schools around the area, as well as other states, will receive a 3-day weekend, making it convenient for families to take a quick Disneyland getaway. And while this next event isn't exactly a Disney official event, fans love flocking to the parks early on in the year to celebrate Villains Day. During this time, you can sport your best Disney villain-bounding attire and join a lot of other Disney villain fans who'll be doing the same. In 2025, Villains Day is on January 26th. By the way, if you need help finding an outfit for such an antagonistic occasion, we got a lot of new Villains-themed shirts and sweatshirt style up on dfbstore.com right now. So yeah, you're gonna want to check the park hours and events calendar on the Disneyland website before you visit, since showtimes for the nighttime spectaculars become much more limited around this season as well, and may not even happen at all on some evenings. So that's something else to take into consideration. It's not like Disney World where that stuff happens every single night without fail. It happens sporadically in Disneyland, especially during these lower crowd seasons. Time for pricing in the winter. What are those winter ticket prices going to look like for January and February 2025? During most weekdays throughout January, single-day ticket prices can be as low as $104 per person, which is the lowest Disneyland's ticket prices can go, which what that tells us is low crowds expected. But we see those prices peak at $206 per person. The highest ticket prices can go during the first week in January and the weekend before and following Valentine's Day. That being said, Disneyland does currently have a special ticket offer available on their site for kids ages 3 to 9 that'll run from January 7th to March 20th, giving kids the chance to visit the parks for as low as $50 per day. Okay, so is a winter trip the right fit for your group? Maybe, especially if you're searching for cooler temps and lighter crowd levels, or if you're wanting to surprise your special someone with a little Valentine's Day getaway. Not to mention, Lunar New Year is seriously one of the coolest seasonal Disney festivals out there, and I say that knowing good and well that these festivals also have to compete for your attention against Epcot seasonal festivals. But if you're wanting longer park hours, more fireworks show offerings, and potentially fewer seasonal closures that could happen for rides and attractions while the crowd levels aren't as demanding, a winter trip to Disneyland might fall flat for you. And suddenly it's springtime in Disneyland, and we're back with more Disney After Dark events. I love these. Each year, Disneyland goes all out with their Star Wars celebrations, and Season of the Force will be returning from March 28th to May 11th. This means Space Mountain will receive its seasonal Star Wars overlay, transforming it into Hyperspace Mountain, which is my favorite version of this ride. And Fire of the Rising Moons will perform nightly in Galaxy's Edge with projections and galactic music, as well as fireworks on select nights. Along with that, Star Wars Nights will also return this season on April 8th, 10th, 22nd, 24th, 29th, and May the 1st, the 4th, and the 6th. During this specially ticketed event, expect to see offerings like Star Wars-themed fireworks, rare character encounters, lightsaber trainings, and Star Wars projections across Sleeping Beauty Castle and It's a Small World 2. Millennials get pumped because 90s Night will be coming to Disneyland on March 4th and 6th as a Disney After Dark event and will be centered more around Disney-inspired pop culture nostalgia. While it's sad to see Lunar New Year go, DCA's second festival of the year starts up once the spring season hits. Food and Wine Festival is going to take place in 2025 on February 28th to April 21st. I'll see you there. And I'm going to say it, I like Disney California Adventure's Food and Wine Festival better than Epcot's. At least recently I do, since there just seems to be more on offer during DCA's version, including the culinary demonstrations, the beverage language seminars, specialty dinners that we've been begging for years for Epcot to bring back too, plus the OG Soarin' Over California returns to Food and Wine Festival, temporarily replacing Soarin' Around the World. Now, we're not sure that's going to happen in 2025, but it has happened for the past few years, so we're hoping that it does. But the food is just so good at DCA's Food and Wine Festival. Please, please, please go check it out. Now, every Easter, Disneyland likes to hold an extravaganza Easter egg hunt around the Disneyland resorts, where you and your family can track down different eggs painted to look like popular Disney characters. It's a fun little activity, and it tends to show up around April, which would make sense for 2025 too, since Easter this year falls on April 20th. The Easter season is also when you can get those famous fudgy Easter eggs from the Candy Palace inside Disneyland Park. Now, I think this is the highlight of this entire video, so if you are still here and watching, you have made it to the premiere section of this vid. I love these Easter eggs. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, usually, that's been the schedule in the past, up until Easter, you can get a chocolate egg made fresh in the shop, sold for around $13 each. But just brace yourself, these are so popular amongst locals and out-of-towners alike that you might only be able to purchase them on mobile order via the Disneyland app, which was the case in 2024. So just be aware that this might still be the case if you try to grab a fudgy egg during your 2025 spring visit. And let's not forget about grad nights. Grad nights take place after DCA closes on select evenings throughout May and June. Tickets will be available to purchase for local graduating seniors to provide a fun and safe celebration night with exclusive party offerings just for them. You can learn more about this event and when it's taking place next year over on DisneyCampus.com. Crowds in Disneyland during the spring season can be described one way: ebb and flow. While the beginning of March won't be so bad, mid-March starts the spring break season for many schools, so expect a spike in crowd levels around that time. After April, crowds can die down a little bit and be pretty tame throughout the beginning and middle of May, but once you get to Memorial Day weekend, May 24th to 26th, the summer season is kicking off, meaning another huge surge of crowds and excited vacationers. And local kids soon getting out of school and getting ready for the Disneyland summer. Okay, let's talk prices. Per the release of this video, Disneyland ticket prices only go as far as the end of May. So after this point, the summer, fall, and holiday season pricing is going to be based on what we were seeing last year. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. First, let's look at those spring ticket prices. The lowest ticket prices we're seeing so far are available toward the end of April at around $126 per person. But for the most part, weekday prices average around $142 to $180, with several weekend prices spiking up to $196. Then there's one random Saturday in May, May 10th, where the ticket prices breach the $200 range, with tickets listed for the max of $206 per person. Moving on to the personal stuff. There's a lot to love about springtime in Disneyland. Temps are nice and not miserably hot, several special events you can take part in, and depending on when you go, the crowds might not be too shabby either. Plus, fudgy Easter eggs. But on the other hand, crowds might be the highest you've ever seen them, especially when mid-March hits, and lots of families will be flooding the parks. Now, I don't think you always need to invest in lightning lanes for a Disneyland trip, but if your vacation falls during one of those spring break times, because more than likely, you'll be one of the spring breakers yourself, it's not a bad idea to purchase lightning lanes ahead of time, whenever you're purchasing your tickets online. And since the new Lightning Lane Premier Pass covers both parks instead of just one or the other, this could be a good way to bypass those ride lines while park hopping as well, instead of paying for like a VIP tour that'll set you back 10 grand. Moving into the summer, I haven't been talking too much about weather in this video because, it never rains in Southern California. That's not true. It does rain and the temperatures do vary, but it's not going to be extremes the way it can be in Orlando. But summer is the one caveat here. As Anaheim gets later into the summer season, it can get up to 100+ degrees on some of those July and August and early September days. They had a huge heat wave this past summer and it was gross. So that's all the more reason to pack a reusable water bottle and stay hydrated. Now, special events in the summer. Aside from summer vacation being alive and well through the veins of these Disney parks, the special events throughout this time won't be nearly as constant as you've seen so far for winter and spring. Why? Because they don't really need to entice people to come into the park. People are already coming into the park, so special events aren't really as needed as far as marketing is concerned. But that doesn't mean nothing special will be happening. Far from it. After all, summer is when Disneyland will be officially celebrating their 70th birthday. The actual day is July 17th. And during all the festivities, DCA will be bringing back the Better Together, a Pixar celebration parade. Returning date is still TBA, And Pride Nights will be coming back later on in the summer as well for an evening of exclusive photo ops and colorful cavalcades and dance parties and limited time snacks. In 2025, Pride Nights will take place on June 16th and 18th. On 4th of July, Sleeping Beauty Castle has a very special fireworks spectacular that'll light up the night sky in an oh-so-patriotic display. It makes Sam the Eagle proud. But if you want to visit Disneyland on the 4th, be prepared for really heavy crowds and some bottlenecked pathways, as well as long lines for the rides, which may make the price for lightning lanes more worth budgeting for. Disney Junior Let's Play Party will have a one-day only event in DCA and a two-day only event in downtown Disney to bring live entertainment and rare Disney Junior characters this summer. We'll talk more about Halloween festivities next, but Halloween time in Disneyland will start up in 2025 on August 22nd and run until October 31st. During that time, you'll also be able to experience Plaza de la Familia at DCA, where characters from Pixar's Coco will come to life, or rather afterlife, to celebrate Dia de los Muertos. This event will start up on August 22nd too and last until November 2nd. Speaking of crowds, while the off-season crowds are usually made up of Anaheim locals, the summer crowds bring in more out-of-state guests, meaning you'll run into many days that are just plain busy, especially on the weekends. Plan to set your alarms earlier to make it to the parks by rope drop. Not only will this help you get in line for the rides before the midday rush funnels in, but you'll also be able to experience that cooler morning weather. And if you're staying at a Disney-owned hotel, you might also get to use that early admission privilege, which will allow you 30 extra minutes of park time before the parks open for everyone else. Just keep in mind that the parks take turns offering that early admission perk. So Disneyland offers early admission on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and DCA offers it Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And let's talk prices. Again, I'm going to have to take a look back into the past to collect data for this one since summer single-day ticket prices aren't yet posted on the Disneyland website. Throughout June and July, pricing does tend to stick around that mid-tier range through the weekdays, so like around $142 to $164, probably a little bit higher next year. But prices normally spike for Saturdays and Sundays, getting into the $180 to $196 range. And then when you look at the August calendar for 2024, single-day ticket prices were pretty drastically different, even for ticket prices listed on the same week, just a few days later. While August, towards the end of the month, had many weekdays priced at the lowest end of the ticket range at $104, Saturdays would immediately spike those prices up towards $184 to $194, literally an $80 to $90 per person difference. So you can save a lot of money if you have flexibility in your upcoming vacation, choosing to go on the weekdays instead of the weekends. Now, summer is a super popular time to visit Disneyland, and for good reason. Kids are out for the summer, the days are longer, fireworks and Fantasmic shows are a nightly thing, and as long as you're in the Cali area, you can always take a detour to one of their nearby beaches and really stretch out your summer fun. But summer doesn't tend to offer nearly as many special events as the other seasons do, and that might simply be because Disney doesn't really need to entice those summer vacationers. And you always need to take into consideration that heat. I can remember going to Disneyland with my parents a few years ago before my dad passed away, and they definitely had to take a break. They had to get out of the heat because even though it's California and you always think, oh, it's always temperate and everything's fine, it's not. It can get real hot, so be prepared. And we're coming into fall in Disneyland. Doesn't it feel nice? Halloween is here and we are pretty much overwhelmed / obsessed with it. Halloween means Oogie Boogie Bash has returned. The Oogie Boogie Bash After Hours Party in DCA will take place on select nights starting August 17th and going through October 31st. Now, if you don't want to pay for a separate ticket to take part in all the Halloween fun, or you miss out on your chance to buy tickets because they sell out really fast, don't worry. Lots of Halloween overlays happen throughout both parks during September and October too, and these overlays are included with your regular theme park ticket purchase. In Disneyland, you've got the Haunted Mansion Holiday Overlay, featuring a Nightmare Before Christmas theme that lasts until the end of the year. Usually this overlay starts up at the beginning of September, but word of warning to all my August vacationers out there, that means Haunted Mansion does close for a few weeks to make this transition happen. So if you don't want to potentially miss out on Haunted Mansion, then a mid-August Disneyland trip may not be the right fit for you. Don't go then anyway, it's too hot. On select nights, Sleeping Beauty Castle also shoots off their seasonal Halloween fireworks. Keywords select nights. Make sure you check the Disneyland calendar on their website before your visit so you don't miss out on the show, because now that you've gotten into fall, you're not seeing those nighttime spectaculars happen reliably every night anymore. And in DCA, you've got even more ride overlays to anticipate beyond Monsters After Dark. like Luigi's Honkin' Halloween and Mater's Graveyard Jamboree over in Cars Land. By the way, Monsters After Dark, that's the overlay for Guardians of the Galaxy / Tower of Terror, and it's really scary, so just a heads up. There's also going to be another Run Disney event on September 4th to the 7th, Halloween themed of course, as well as another Run Disney event just a couple months after that on October 31st to November 3rd. This one's going to be Wine and Dine themed. Right before Thanksgiving, you're going to start seeing some Christmas decor decking the Disneyland halls, and all this festive cheer continues right on until January. But I won't jump into all that holly jolly talk yet. If you happen to be in the parks on Thanksgiving, several restaurants will serve specialty Thanksgiving feasts that you normally won't see on the menus otherwise. You'll just need to make sure you're prioritizing making those sit-down dining reservations for your Thanksgiving Day visit as soon as your reservation window opens up. That's 60 days before you go. Crowds in the fall in Disneyland can go one of two ways. It can be really not busy, which you'll probably see on the weekdays throughout the middle of September, or it can be so wildly busy that even the rides that usually have walk-on waits throughout the year, like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and The Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure, can turn into like 45-minute waits, thanks to the Thanksgiving crowds. And since the crowds tend to be all or nothing throughout the fall, ticket prices tend to be all over the place as well. September usually stays in that lower single-day tier, around $104 to $126. October picks up the ticket costs, with several days normally priced between $142 and $180. And then once you're in November territory, specifically late November territory, it's not surprising to see those ticket prices peak in the 200s. To be honest, fall is one of my favorite times to visit Disneyland. The crowds aren't outrageous and high temps are starting to mellow, and Disney California Adventure does Halloween up right with their Oogie Boogie Bash after hours party. It is so fun. Please prioritize it if you can get tickets. But there's also the conundrum of having to choose whether you want to go all out for spooky, scary skeleton season or hold off and go later in November to see DCA's third and final festival of the year, which I'll talk about more next. Visiting in early fall can be tricky if you're not a California local, since the kids go back to school around mid to late August, so you might not have the time to pull kids out of the classroom right when they've just returned. But if you're long past the years of textbooks and pop quizzes, then you've got the freedom to plan a vacation whenever it suits you. So those early fall days can be a dream. Then there's the week of Thanksgiving, which holiday crowds are in full force then, so set your expectations for what you'll be able to get done in a single park day and make sure to take plenty of breaks away from the sea of people whenever you can. It's holiday time! I mean, Christmas festivities everywhere you turn. DCA's Festival of Holidays kicks off in mid-November, which, heads up, this is a little weird, picky AJ thing. Festival of Holidays is in Disney California Adventure, while Festival of the Holidays is in Epcot. Yes, two completely different things. I don't know. This is why I am the way I am. Anyway, Festival of Holidays brings several holiday traditions into the park, including celebrations not just for Christmas, but for Navidad, Hanukkah, Diwali, Kwanzaa, and Three Kings Day too. During the fest, expect to see spirited performances and character sightings and tons of limited time food and drink offerings across the festival food marketplace. Oh, and the holiday Tory drummers too. Those guys give the little drummer boy a run for his money, let me tell you. Unlike Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios over on the East Coast, Disneyland Park hasn't offered an after-hours holiday party for the past few years, to my great consternation, because the last one I went to in 2021 was epic. However, you're still going to be able to see tons of festive offerings with your regular day ticket, including a Christmas fantasy parade. It's a very long parade, just a heads up, so go to the bathroom before. Holiday fireworks, characters in their finest winter attire, Santa meet and greets, and tons of lights across main Disneyland buildings like Sleeping Beauty Castle and It's a Small World. Meanwhile, over in DCA, the Festival of the Holidays doesn't hold all the Christmas fun. You'll also be able to see World of Color, Season of Light, and a Christmas overlay in Cars Land, with rides updated to fit the holly jolly spirit, including Mater's Jingle Jamboree and Luigi's Joy to the Whirl. So let's talk crowds. I love visiting Disneyland during the holidays, but what I don't love is the crowds that can be even worse than what you'll experience during spring and summer break. If you're visiting around the most wonderful time of the year, be sure to have your advanced dining reservations and hotel bookings already lined up months before your trip, just to guarantee you're going to have them. Holiday season ticket prices tend to get higher and higher the closer you get to Christmas, so the earlier in December you can visit the parks, the more likely you'll be able to skip out on those top tier prices. For the 2024 holiday season, the cheapest single-day ticket prices are listed as $142 toward the beginning of the month and the middle of the week. But once you hit December 21st, it's $206 tickets for the remainder of the month. So there's just something so special about seeing the original Disneyland park all lit up for Christmas. I know it sounds cheesy, but It really is magical. I mean, sparkling castle icicles, ornament trails, Santa Claus. Come on, this is a good time, y'all. So when I tell you that the crowds can be outrageous here, I'm not trying to scare you out of experiencing a Disneyland holiday season. I'm just trying to warn you because if you're not expecting that many people crowding the park, it can really put a damper on what should have been a really fun time for you. If you're able, you may prefer going to check out all the festivities at the beginning of the month instead of towards the end of it, when the parks will be hit with those post-Christmas crowds bleeding into New Year's Eve. Another thing worth mentioning though is that if you're wanting to ride the new Tiana's Bayou Adventure or Grizzly River Run over in DCA, Disneyland won't necessarily close these rides when the temperatures drop, but they can be a whole lot more miserable to experience when there's already a nip in the air. So if you do go to Disneyland when it's cooler out and you do go ahead and ride these water rides, pack an extra change of clothes with you to take into the park, or bring your ponchos so you don't have to walk around in soggy duds the rest of the day. Make your teeth chatter. And we made it through the whole year, but don't let the end of this video stop you from continuing to plan your Disneyland vacation. We got lots more Disneyland videos for you to check out now, like our ultimate guide to Disneyland hotels or our 22 things you should always do in Disneyland, or one of the several other Disneyland videos we've got on our channel that'll continue pointing you in the right direction when it comes to planning your big West Coast getaway. So head over to that playlist, settle in, and get ready for some awesome videos. And don't forget to subscribe to our free DFB newsletter to learn even more about those upcoming Disneyland announcements and events to come. I'll even add the link down in the description for you. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.